Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye Shrimvantan Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantasto Yavadrani Vidunati Suhirsatam Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavati Uttama Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 7, The Sacrifice Performed by Daksha. Text 29 and 30. Rudra Uvacha Tava Varangrivat Ashishikatlartim Yape Munivid Ashaktir Adhare Nakanyang Yadi Rachitadyam Ma Vidyalopavidam Japati Naganektat Tat Paranugrahena. Rudra Vacha, Lord Shiva said, Tava, your, Vara Da, O Supreme Benefactor, Vara Angra, precious lotus feet, Ashisha, by desire, Iha, in the material world, Akira Arte, for fulfillment, He, Api, certainly, Munibhi, by the sages, Ashakte, liberated, Adarena, with care, Arhanye, worshipable, Yadi, if, Rachita, Dhyam, mind fixed, Ma, me, Avidya Loka, the ignorant persons, Apavidam, unpurified activity, Japati, orders, Naganaye, do not value, Tat, it, Dvat, Para, Anugrahena, by compassion like yours. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Shiva said, My Lord, my mind and consciousness are always fixed on your lotus feet, which, as the source of all benediction and the fulfillment of all desires, are worshipped by all liberated great sages, because your lotus feet are worthy of worship. With my mind fixed on your lotus feet, I am no longer disturbed by persons who blaspheme me, claiming that my activities are not purified. I do not mind the accusations, and I excuse them out of compassion, just as you exhibit compassion toward all living entities. Lord Shiva expresses herein his regret at having been angry and having disturbed the sacrificial activities of Daksha. King Daksha had insulted him in many ways, and thus he had become angry and had frustrated the entire sacrificial ceremony. Later, when he was pleased, the yajna performances were reinstituted, and therefore he regretted his activities. Now he says that because his mind is fixed on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, Vishnu, he is no longer disturbed by the ordinary critics of his way of life. From this statement, Lord Shiva, it is understood that as long as one is on the material platform, one is affected by the three modes of material nature. As soon as one is in Krishna consciousness, however, one is no longer affected by such material activities. One should therefore always be fixed in Krishna consciousness, busy in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. It is guaranteed that such a devotee will never be affected by the actions and reactions of the three modes of material nature. This fact is also corroborated in Bhagavad Gita. Anyone who is fixed in transcendental service of the Lord has surpassed all the material qualities and is situated in the status of Brahman realization, in which one is not afflicted by the hankering for material objects. The recommendation of Srimad Bhagavatam is that one should always be Krishna consciousness and should never forget his transcendental relationship with the Lord. This program has to followed strictly by everyone, has to be followed strictly by everyone. From the statements of Lord Shiva, it is understood that he was always in Krishna consciousness, and thus he remained free from material affliction. The only remedy, therefore, is to continue Krishna consciousness rightly in order to get out of the material contamination, of the contamination of material modes. Text 30. Prigurvacham Yanmaya Gahanara Pritatma Bodham Brahma Dayastanu Vritastamasi Svapantam Natman Tritam Tava Vidantyaduna Pitatvam Swayam Pashidatu Vavan Pranatatma Bandhu. Vrihovacha, Sri Vriho said, Yat, who, Mayayam, by illusory energy, Gahanayam, insurmountable, Aparta, stolen, Atma Bodha, knowledge of the constitutional position, Brahma Adaya, Lord Brahma, etc. Tanubritaham, embodied living entities, Tamasi, in the darkness of illusion, Svapantaham, lying down, Na, not, Atman, in the living entity, Sritam, situated in, Tava, your, Vidanti, understand, Aduna, now, Api, certainly, Tadvam, absolute position, Sah, you, I am, this, Prasidatu, be kind, Bhavan, your lordship, Pranata Atma, surrender soul, Bandhu, friend. Translation. Sri Brigo said, My dear Lord, all living entities, beginning from the highest, namely Lord Brahma, down to the ordinary ant, are under the influence of the insurmountable spell of illusionary energy. And thus they are ignorant of their constitutional position. Everyone believes in the concept of the body, and all are thus submerged in the darkness of illusion. They are actually unable to understand how you live in every living entity as a supersoul, nor can they understand your absolute position. But you are eternal friend and protector of all surrendered souls. Therefore, please be kind toward us and forgive all our offenses. My apologies. Purport. Virgamuni was conscious of the scandalous behavior exhibited by each and every one of them, including Brahma and Lord Shiva, in the sacrificial ceremony of Daksha. By mentioning Brahma, the chief of all living entities within this material world, he wanted to state that everyone, including also Brahma and Lord Shiva, is under the concept of the body and under the spell of material energy, all but Vishnu. That is the version of Brigo. As long as one is under the concept of the body as self, it is very difficult to understand the supersoul or the supreme personality of Godhead. Conscious that he was not greater than Brahma, Brigo included himself in the list of offenders. Ignorant personalities or conditional souls have no choice but to accept their precarious condition on the material nature. The only remedy is to surrender to Vishnu and always pray to be excused. One should depend only on the constant mercy of the Lord for deliverance and not even slightly on one's own strength. That is the perfect position of a Krishna conscious person. The Lord is everyone's friend, but he is especially friendly to the surrendered souls. The simple process, therefore, is that a conditioned soul should remain surrendered to the Lord, and the Lord will give him all protection to keep him out of the clutches of material contaminations. Om Agyanati Nandasya Gyanangara Salakaya Chakshurminitam Janatas by Sri Gurve Namaha. Anahata Prayasena Bro Plasatoskaya Sankutam Bro Devatrita Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Bro and Ten Sharada Shiva Sari Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Ram. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity once again to share Srimad Bhagavatam, my spiritual master, and all of you, and of course for my own purification. If I have to summarize everything in one go, it could be on 6 words. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. We can pretty much appreciate a profound realization resulting from Lord Shiva's meditation on Krishna. By his mind and consciousness being fixed on the Supreme Personality of Godhead's lotus feet, Lord Shiva is not disturbed at all by those who disrespected him. Despite being criticized for his actions, Lord Shiva showed compassion and forgiveness, just like the Lord exhibits compassion towards all living entities. Lord Shiva is showing his humility by recognizing his mistake. And what was that mistake? Getting angry and the disturbances caused by the sacrificial yagya. One important thing to note here is that Krishna consciousness transcends material disturbances. So as long as one is in the material platform, one is affected by the 3 modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. However, being in Krishna consciousness elevates one beyond these modes. Being fixed in Krishna consciousness means being engaged in the loving service of the Lord, which protects one from all the actions and reactions of the material modes. Krishna confirms in Bhagavad Gita 5:29, Muktinam yagna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram surhidam sarvabhutanam yatpagman santim vrichatim. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. And in his purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, quote, to work in Krishna consciousness is to work in the complete knowledge of the Lord as the predominator. Such work is not different from the transcendental knowledge. Direct Krishna consciousness is Bhakti Yoga. Jnana Yoga is a path leading to Bhakti Yoga. Krishna consciousness means to work in full knowledge of one's relationship with the Supreme Absolute. And the perfection of this consciousness is full knowledge of Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unquote. Srimad Bhagavatam recommends that one should always maintain Krishna consciousness and never forget the relationship with the Lord. Again, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. This constant devotion and remembrance of the Lord is essential for transcending material contamination. On text 30, we again see humility by the humble and insightful prayer by Bhrigu Muni. He recognizes the influence of Maya, the illusory energy, on all living entities, and emphasizes the importance of surrendering to the Supreme Lord for protection and liberation. Bhrigu Muni also acknowledges that all living entities, from Lord Brahma down to the smallest ant, are under the influence of Maya, the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord. This illusory energy causes ignorance and makes us forget what our true constitutional position is as eternal servants of the Lord. Jivera Svarupa Hava Krishnera Nitya Das. Again, Nitya Das. But because the influence of Maya, we tend to identify with our body and prevents us from understanding or even feeling the presence of the Supersoul, Paramatma, in the heart of every single living entity. The Lord is so merciful that despite this darkness, this ignorance, He remains the best friend and eternal protector of all surrendered souls. And Brigamuni here is appealing to the Lord for kindness and forgiveness for all their offenses. This reminds me of a beautiful prayer taught by Lord Jesus, and he has the same pledge to his father. Who's his father? Krishna. He says, please forgive our trespasses as we forgive those who have trespassed against us. So if we deny forgiveness, how can we beg forgiveness or be the recipients of forgiveness, right? So Lord Shiva's examples show us that we should cultivate compassion and forgiveness even towards those who criticize us. And this requires another key ingredient, tolerance. So these terms sound very familiar, right? Humility, tolerance. So we'll come back to this point. But Bhrigu Muni confirms that everyone from Brahma to the tiniest ant is under the spell of Maya, except for Lord Vishnu. And of course, we also see a display of humility because he is counting himself among those who are affected by Maya. So he is recognizing his own limitations. Many times we have difficulties recognizing our own mistakes, and we'd rather try to defend those mistakes instead of owning them and make corrections. So if we continue to identify with the body, understanding that the Paramatma will continue to remain, understanding the Paramatma will remain a challenge. So long we continue to be under the influence of material nature, we have to accept the threefold miseries. What are those? Those miseries which arise from the mind and the body, the miseries inflicted by other living beings, and the miseries arising from natural catastrophes over which we have no control, no matter how advanced the advancement in technology. Nobody has a control. We are not controllers. So in essence, sorry, these verses teach us the importance of developing unmotivated devotion to the Supreme Lord, the benefits of being in Krishna consciousness, and the values of compassion and forgiveness. We need to understand and value the principles of respect, humility, and tolerance as taught by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Only when we conquer this, we're able to embrace these values, we will be able to recognize our limitations and see the importance of surrendering to Krishna, freeing us at the same time from the clutches of Maya. If we want to progress in our spiritual quest, in our Krishna consciousness, we need to depend on the mercy of the Lord. So, and this dependence fosters a deep sense of trust and devotion. So, we must understand and feel the presence of the Lord and His Paramatma feature within our hearts and acknowledge His presence in the heart of every single living entity. Only then we can develop compassion and respect for others. All this sounds very complicated, right? But how can we do it when Maya in 2024 is strong and will getting stronger? Prabhupada said, when somebody asks Prabhupada, do you have bhakti? You can give us bhakti. And he says, no, I don't. But I know the formula. And he gave the formula to everyone. One who thinks himself lower than the grass and laid in the street, who is more tolerant than a tree and who does not expect personal honor, yet is always prepared to give all respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy names of the Lord. And in this age of Kali, how is that possible? Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Kevalam, Kalam Nasteva, Nasteva, Nastie, Bhagatiranyata. For spiritual progress in this age of Kali, there is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way than chanting the holy name of the Lord. So we need to trust in the Lord, trust in his calling name, and follow his instructions systematically. Once we have been able to understand, accept, and practice them, we will be able to transcend the modes of material nature and be engaged in bhakti with unlimited, uninterrupted, unmotivated devotional service. So let's keep chanting. And again, always remember Krishna. Never forget Krishna. Have a wonderful day. And please forgive